Come explore the land. We'll take you by the hand. Mount is high.
Hi, I'm Peter.
I'm Roy.
Welcome to our channel. Please remember to like and subscribe, and we'll bring you regular updates as to what we're getting up to.
Yes, and where are we off to today?
We're off to visit a friend's garden. He's invited us to have a look. His garden's peaking at the moment. It's October in South Africa, and we're going to do a shoot of his entire garden as a feature on our channel.
Can't wait.
Let's go. Hey Yogan.
Hi Peter, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good
to
to
see you.
Welcome to the Villa de Cinq Elders.
Thank you for sharing your garden with us. We just can't wait to see the whole thing.
Oh, I'm very excited to show you around.
Where are we going to start?
Let's start down there. Do that first.
Yogan, how did you find this beautiful house and how long have you been here?
Well, Peter, I've been here for 3 years.
Only 3 years, and what was here when you moved here?
A small little forest was here when I moved
Yeah.
in, but I knew at the first moment I saw this place that I really loved it and that it would fit my vision for a garden. Luckily, when I found it, the soil was good, which allowed me to produce this lovely garden in such a short time. And it did take a lot of work. I had to clear away a lot of overgrowth and vegetation. There was a huge olive tree that covered most of the upper story windows. I couldn't even open the shutters.
You couldn't see the house?
No, not at all. But I had a feeling it would be something worth buying. Peter, have you seen my delphiniums?
They are absolutely spectacular.
They
I
fit
love them.
so well with the blue, yellow and white theme of the
So
garden.
tell us why you chose to do blue, yellow and white.
Well, it all comes down to the house. It's a heritage house built in 1931.
Yeah.
And as you can see, it's got slightly yellowish walls with lovely blue shutters. So
Yeah.
the garden naturally fitted with the house.
So you married the colours of the garden to the house.
Yes, I did.
Which takes a lot of restraint as a garden lover and plantsman.
It really did. It was quite a challenge, restricting
You have
myself
to restrict
only
yourself
3
so
colours.
tightly to 3 colours.
But luckily I have several other garden rooms, so I was allowed to play with other colours in the other rooms.
And of course green is also a colour.
Yes, definitely, as you can see by the lovely deep green walls, which hopefully recede into the background as the planting grows.
Yogan, the use of grasses. I love how you've introduced grasses into this garden.
Thank you, Peter. I also love grasses. They add movement to the borders. They're very easy to grow and they're great value for money. I just bought this one plant and I've managed to make 5 clumps from it in the space of 6 months. And as you can see, they've grown tremendously.
This Nicotiana, I don't know it. What species is this?
So this is quite an interesting one. This is Nicotiana alata, and it is the cheapest plant that I bought for this garden. I bought it at Bedford and I paid just 10 Rand for one plant. Now I probably have about 40. And interestingly, it's sterile since I only have one parent plant. So I make it from root cuttings and they live about 2 to 3 years and then they have to be replaced.
Oh my word, Yogan, I haven't seen Tweedia for years. Tell us a bit about it.
Oh, isn't it lovely? Tweedia is a milkweed. It took quite a lot of effort to grow. And it really needs the heat to get going. But aren't the painted blue flowers absolutely lovely?
And again, the colour is perfection.
It
for
is
your garden
perfection.
to match that house.
And blue flowers are such rarities in the natural world. Peter, have you seen the hippeastrum
I
there?
love them. I always think of them in pots, but I love the use of an amaryllis in the garden.
Yes, and it does so well, and it's such an easy plant to grow in our climate.
This is a relatively new colour.
I think it just came out 2 years ago, and if I'm not mistaken, it's from the Sonatini series.
It is?
And I mean, it even gets more than 4 flowers on a stem, which is unusual for amaryllis.
Yeah. And what's this little beauty?
Well, that's quite interesting. It's quite a useful crop that we grow for producing linen. That's flax, or flaxseed oil also comes from that
Oh,
plant.
wow, I've eaten flaxseed oil. I've never seen the flowers.
It makes a beautiful addition to the blue, yellow and white garden.
And you've planted cannas. What did you decide to do that for?
Well, there were several reasons for me to choose the cannas. The first was they were easily available and they met my color scheme. So I managed to get a few clumps from my parents, split them, and in the space of a year, I had huge clumps, as you can see. They do match the color scheme, but I have to cut away the flowers because unfortunately they're orange.
Oxford and Cambridge. When last did I see one of those? And the bumblebees love them.
Oh, they do absolutely love them. That is Rothica ugandiensis, and it is indigenous to South Africa and extends up into the Congo. And just look at that, out of season, what a treat. That is Salvia leucantha, but it's the unusual cultivar, a white velour, and it's a pure white cultivar, unlike the others that are often available on the market, which have purple or pink in flowers.
And as you say, flowering in spring.
Flowering in spring, and
Who
will
would think?
repeat flower again in the autumn, but it'll make much better display then.
Is this yellow lavender? The detail you've gone to is extraordinary.
Yes, isn't it wonderful? It is a species from the Mediterranean. It is called lavender verdiflora, so the green flowered lavender, and it has a lovely scent of lavender, but with the hint of pine cones and pine needles in the background.
This Casonia must have been here when you moved in.
Yes, it was one of the few things that I kept. Did you notice the lovely branch which is twisted?
I wonder how that happened.
I can only imagine, but I think you should keep something that's off the place in the garden, and that very much is something that could only happen here and is very unique to the house. This oxalis is an interesting species. A lot of people think it's a weed, but this particular one is Oxalis silicosa subspecies vulcanola, which is quite a mouthful. It is a very easy oxalis to grow. You can just grow it from cuttings. I bought it from a famous garden in the Cape, where they have it growing in the shade, and it flowers for most of the year, provided it's given a bit of water. But if there is a drought, it will go dormant, and it will come back from tubers that it has in the pot.
Yogan, I love this combination. Delphiniums, Salvia black and bloom, and Pride of Madeira. Too beautiful, and the bees are already busy. Early morning and they're going flat out.
They're absolutely stunning, and it turned out quite well. Now, I didn't anticipate it would look like this, but I think it came out for the better. The Pride of Madeira is very lovely. It offers both structure and form in the spring, especially when it's in bud, and now in the late spring when it's in flower, it offers these lovely blue flowers which are a treat for the bees.
This little variegated euphorbia, tell us about it.
I can't remember the cultivar name, but it is delightful. It's supposed to perennialize, and it self-seeds throughout the garden, which is lovely.
I see you've got it everywhere.
Yes, it tends to pop up where it wants to, but that adds an informal charm to the garden.
As it does. Even your foxgloves match.
Yes, that was quite a challenge. In South Africa, it's very difficult to get pure white or yellow foxgloves. So I bought a mixed bag of seeds. I sowed them, and from some advice that I got from a famous gardening show, I selected out the pink-coloured seedlings and disposed of them. And then what was left were pale colours, and then from those, the ones that flowered that came out this colour were the ones that I selected and grew on. And now I have a white, stable white cultivar.
Yogan, I'm fascinated how you'll use a succulent with indigenous plants, perennials, grasses. You put them all together and it works.
Thank you. I was quite worried about that. I decided to use all these plants based on their color palette, what was available, and my love for plants. I tried to combine them in water-wise or water-smart combinations, and it seems to work. And my main criteria for choosing a plant is one that will fit to our climate, a Mediterranean climate with predominantly winter rainfall and cool.
So there's a
mild winters.
practical underpinning in this garden.
There is a practical underpinning to save on water, because it would consume quite a lot of water, you would think, but it manages to survive on our rainfall alone with supplementation from the roof water tanks.
Now, I'm sure your soil preparation had a lot to do with this.
Yes, that is I think one of the keys to a brilliant garden is soil preparation. It took a lot of work. The garden is top dressed with about 20 centimeters of compost yearly. I used to do it twice a year, but now I do it yearly. It helps to conserve water in our dry climate. It helps to shed water when there's excess rain. It insulates the soil.
And do you do that at a particular time of the year, this layering of 20 centimeters of compost?
Yes, in the middle of winter. So the whole garden is cut back around about June or July, right down to the ground. All the herbaceous plants need to be pruned, and then it allows for space to chop dress.
Brilliant. This is a find, Strelitzia Mandela's gold. This one was previously known as Kirstenbosch gold, if I'm right.
Yes, that's correct. I don't think you'll see that anywhere in the world. A Barberton daisy and an anthurium making bedfellows. Look at that quaking grass trembling in the wind. Isn't it delightful?
Now, this is no ordinary acanthus mollis. Tell us about it.
It's a very interesting one indeed, and it matches my bougainvillea perfectly with its flowers. It's acanthus white water, and an unusual cultivar and very easy to grow from root cuttings, perfectly suited to our Mediterranean climate.
Yogan, I love that you've introduced mosaic work into your garden.
Why, thank you, Peter. I'm very proud of that piece. I made that mosaic myself.
Oh, wow.
I did it during load shedding when the electricity went out for a week. And it only took about a few days, about 10 days to make. But I'm very happy with the way it turned out.
Yogan, please share some more information about this plant.
I'm sure your nose led you to this plant before your eyes did. This is Aristolochia trilobata. Trilobata referring to its three-pronged leaves, but its flowers are truly the reason that you are amazed by this vine. It is very similar to the pitcher plants, the plants that catch insects and survive off. But it is in fact not a pitcher, not related to the pitcher.
Yeah.
It just appears like them. What happens is a fly enters into the flower under the lid, attracted by the rather repugnant odor, flies into the flower and gets trapped by the downward facing hairs. Once inside, it gets covered in pollen, and on the next day all the little hairs fall away and the fly is able to escape, only to be lured in via another flower. And that is how this plant achieves pollination in the wild.
The genius of nature.
Truly magnificent and a lovely example of convergent evolution.
This is one of those proudly South African plants, one of my favorites, Streptocarpus.
Yes, and as indigenous as you possibly could get. This is Streptocarpus primuliformis, meaning it has leaves like a primula. It grows just around the corner on the hills that surround the city.
Wow. Yogan, what's hiding under these leaves?
Well spotted, piece. This is an unusual impatiens. This is Impatiens neoneamenensis, if I'm not mistaken. And it looks like a parrot's beak.
They are too cute.
That's adorable and very easy to grow.
So this is not exactly the kind of geranium one comes to mind when you think pelargonium.
No, it isn't. It is a species. It's a biennial, sometimes a short-lived perennial, and it comes from the island of Madeira. This little plant grows from a single seed, and it will flower. Being monocarpic, it will die at the end of its life. So once it puts on this magnificent display, it will set seed, and it will be no longer. I've had this child for about 3 years now.
So Yogan, this is your tropical garden, very different to the Mediterranean garden in the front of your house.
Yes, I love tropical plants and I needed a place to keep them that wasn't in conflict with the aesthetic of the other gardens. But this isolated courtyard offers both the ideal conditions and a divide that makes a separate garden room, so I can enjoy the beautiful tropical plants that I so love. Isn't that an unusual Tradescantia piece?
Yeah, they're always thought to be so common, so to speak, but what a charmer.
Yes, it is charming. I love the pink blush on it.
I'm crazy about your baskets, Yogan.
Oh, thank you. I think I have around 30 or 35 hanging baskets in total, but tropical plants make excellent additions to them because of their drought tolerance. A lot of the plants are either epiphytic or require rapid drying cycles, and that's the key to getting them to look so luscious. Isn't this a delightful red shrub? This is Euphorbia cotinnifolia, and it reminds one of the cotton bush which grows in Europe. Unfortunately, that shrub will not grow here because our climate is a little bit too mild, but I have this Euphorbia to remind me of it.
I love how you put your bromeliads up in your trees.
I think you should grow plants as they were meant to be grown in the wild. And what better place to add more plants and save on space than growing them up in your trees?
You've gone vertical.
I've gone vertical, yes, as nature would have. Isn't this a lovely Hoya? It has a felted underside. I mean, look at the undersides of those leaves. How beautiful are they? It was quite difficult to grow initially, but now I've got the trick to growing it down. It's made a beautiful plant.
A variegated Brugmansia. Which one is this, Yogan?
This is Brugmansia maya, and for a variegated plant, it produces the heaviest flowering of any of the Brugmansias that I know of.
Wow.
Isn't this a delightful little plant? This is Mawilla dracomontana, an indigenous Mawilla, and the less common of the three species. But I just love how adorable and quaint its little flowers are. The little yellow anthers, aren't they just magical?
This is a tight little space in your garden, wedged between two parts of your house. And you've even used every wall gone vertical again with baskets and trailing plants. It's amazing.
Yes, this is my little secret garden, and it's one of the other garden rooms. It's supposed to be a pink, yellow, and purple garden, which is quite an unusual color scheme, but hopefully it works.
It works.
I'm glad it does. Here we have a delightful fuchsia, a species in fact. It's not your typical fuchsia. Look at the small flowers, and they're followed by these magnificent berries. Strangely enough, the birds don't adore them, but I love the way they add a different element of interest to your garden. So this is a corner where I keep the plants that don't fit into my color schemes, the plants that need to be nurtured and loved. And here we can see one of my favorite begonias, Begonia Marmaduke, which is in flower. It's not actually grown for its flowers, grown mostly for its leaves, but I think it makes a beautiful spring perennial. Here we see a lovely Hoya, one of my favorite tropicals, Hoya Wyetii variegata, and it's beautifully stressed by the recent bout of cold weather that we've been having. If you look at the reverse of the leaf, it is also variegated. Get that into the shot. So if we get that there, maybe better like that. And here we have another Hoya, that's Hoya Carrii, and the heart-leafed Hoya, a lovely tribute on Valentine's Day to your love. So here's a variation on another plant that we saw in the garden, the Oxalis silicosa subspecies Volcanola. This is a cultivar, a variegated cultivar, which has lovely pink, white, and burgundy splashes, which set off the yellow flowers spectacularly. And we have a little Aquilegia here, which managed to grow by seed. Isn't it charming? Looks like a fairy could live in it. This is one of my newest acquisitions. I love the little pink flowers. They look like confetti on the bush. And this is the new release from Keith Gersten's Proven Winners.
Yogan, tell us about this twisted rope-like plant hanging from your baskets.
This is another one of the Hoyas in the collection, and it truly is one of the gems of the secret garden. This is Hoya carnosa compacta.
I love the texture on these leaves.
Yes, that is Tradescantia solomontana, if I'm not mistaken. And it just proves that succulents are both resilient and they offer beauty and interest in the garden. And I think many South Africans are reluctant to grow succulents, but if you use them in such combinations, you can get a magnificent display.
Yogan, I'm tickled pink with this euphorbia.
Isn't it delightful? This is also an old-fashioned annual. It's an annual vine, and it grows to this huge height just in a single year. It's rather rapacious. This is Cobia scandens, and the flowers start off green when they change to beautiful purple and become honey-scented. And as the flower fades and falls away, you can see how the calyces bend over and make a little hook, which is quite charming.
Yogan, so many people are afraid of the color red. I see this courtyard is emblazoned with red. What made you choose red in your courtyard?
Well, this courtyard is both the soul of my house and my garden. And what better color to represent the passion in one's soul than red?
It's amaryllis time in South Africa, and you've developed a beautiful collection. Doubles, singles, sonatinis, the whole trick.
Yes, I really adore amaryllis, and I love that you can extend the season with them. So these are only a part of the collection, probably around a third. The remainder of my bulbs are locked safely away in my freezer, or rather my fridge, where they are chilling, waiting to sprout from dormancy, so I can extend their flowering season well into December.
Brilliant gardening tip. One of the most desirable plants at the moment, variegated monstera.
Yes, Monstera Thai constellation. I just love the way there's 3 kinds of variegation on one leaf.
Yogan, thank you so much for sharing your garden with us, and
Pleasure.
we'll be back for the next season.
Definitely, hopefully new and improved things as well to see.
See you.
Lovely to
Bye-bye.
see you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Yogan. Take care. Ta-ta.
Stories of the land unfold. Come join us, we're Peter and Roy.